Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thanks for stopping by. I'm always grateful wherever you might be. I'll start with some home thoughts. I took this photograph at 6:05 a.m. this morning, and it was a fantastic prequel to what was a beautiful sunrise this morning. But unfortunately, I couldn't stop the car. The traffic was far too busy, but I felt like it because it really became. You saw in the 6:05 photograph the colours that were going to come at 6:20 and 6:20. Beautiful. I'm reading a book by Delillo called The Players, and I'll upload a paragraph. I'm not going to read it to you now, but if you're interested, have a look at it. Very powerful about the markets and about the power of the markets. Finally, this quote from Golda Meir caught my attention. Not being beautiful was the true blessing. Not being beautiful forced me to develop my inner resources. The pretty girl has a handicap to overcome. Well, it's been all about the Panama Papers, obviously, and Asia Times says it provides rare insights into a world that can only exist in the shadows. It proves how a global industry led by major banks, legal firms and asset management companies secretly manages the estates of the world's rich and famous, from politicians, FIFA officials, fraudsters and drug smugglers, to celebrities and professional athletes. This is the German newspaper. And I think it gave us a very thin slice of what is out there, and it feels a little bit managed. And I think, for example, Pravda reported, where have all the Americans gone? And surely you would find a few, and therefore the presence of their absence is unusual. Panama Papers, as we said, and then I think the first casualty is going to be the Icelandic leader. Mass protests outside Iceland's parliament last night as demands grow for the government to resign. Who is who on the list? Notable Africans in the leaked Panama Papers is the Mail and Guardian, Clive Kulubuse Zuma, nephew of the South African president. In June 2015, a South African court found Zuma liable as chairman in the collapse of a gold mining company. But Zuma was authorized to represent Capricat Limited, one of two offshore companies that controversially acquired oil fields in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Confirms the Zuma's close connection with Kabila. Of course, the UN effort is largely manned by the South African Defence Force as well. And then we've seen Janet Desiree Kabila, who's a member of parliament and the twin sister of Joseph Kabila, also getting caught up in the crosshairs as well. Lots of other people, Jose Maria Botelho de Vasconcelos, Minister of Petroleum in Angola, Botswana, President of the Court of Appeal, Janet Kabila, Republic of Congo, here in Kenya, Kalpana Rawal, and the list goes on. But as I said, we've seen just a thin slice of what is clearly going to be an enormous data dump eventually. So let's keep an open mind and see what we get next. When I walked in this morning, the euro was just below 114. We're now at 113.65. Dollar index probably a little bit lower than where it was this morning at 94.58. Japanese yen, big mover, 110.44. Do you remember my 105 target? So many people told me I was wrong, but I think I will be right. Swiss franc, 0.9592. The pound, 142.27, off those recent highs. Aussie, quite a dramatic move, no change in interest rates, 0.7564. India rupee, they cut rates in India. Last time I looked, we were at 66.085. South Korean won 1152.91, the Real 362.17, Egyptian pound 887, and the Rand 1486. Remember, I put a timestamp on my sell yesterday at 1473. I'll put up a 1-year chart of the dollar yen. We're now trading 110.45. My target is 105, as it was from the start of the year, and then even 95. Aurelija Ugulit tweeted, "Getting there, dollar yen. Have a look at her chart. We're now below all those moving averages she's showing in that chart." Australia holds rates for the 11th month, even as currency rally acts as drag on economy. The Aussie is trading at 0.7565. Sterling, 142.28. I'll put up a 1-year chart. I still think we're headed to around 136.50, but apparently there's been quite a bit of central bank buying, which has kept sterling above 140. German 10-year Bund yield start low to the week dropped to 0.126%. It's a pretty Goldilocks scenario for Germany, isn't it? Very low interest rates, keeping the economy moving along. Gold, let me put up a chart there. We've moved a little bit higher, 1228. The key pivot is the 1250 area, and we've got to get above that. It's interesting that, Putin suffered very badly in the late 90s, I think in 1998, I remember, because he used to finance Russian principal notes, and they fell from a price of 60 cents in the dollar to about 6. That was 1998. So I think one of the lessons he learned there is to be overweight gold. Have a look at the gold rush by Russia over the last few months. Oil has dropped to a 1-month low as Saudi Arabia said its participation in any output freeze is dependent on major producers, and that's largely seen as a showdown with Iran. I have a comparison here between Saudi Arabia versus Iranian oil production. Iran's got to go a long way. And I have to admit, I do like an espresso, and I didn't realize Nestle tweeted that it was in 1986 that Nespresso brought premium coffee to your home. Sub-Saharan Africa, Congolese troops are deployed on the streets of Brazzaville, and my friend in Kinshasa, which is across the Fleuve, which is the river, Hervé tells me he went for his morning jog and he could hear bullets flying all the way from across the river. Troops have been deployed on the streets of Brazzaville. Witnesses told the BBC this comes after a military barracks was attacked. An anonymous official told the AP news agency that police are fighting members of a militia called the Ninjas. What a name. The Ninjas were a main anti-government force in the 1998-1999 Civil War. I concluded, going back to Paul Virilio, the street speed. The street is infinitely more muscular than it was. Let's see how this pans out. And then I saw this photograph that was tweeted, "Des tirs mûris entendus à Brazzaville." It looks pretty scary. The Bank of Uganda reduced its key interest rate to 16% on Monday from 17%, the first cut since May 2014. They've raised borrowing costs by 6 percentage points last year to support the shilling. The currency depreciated by nearly 18% in 2015. Got the election out of the way and probably a gradual recovery in South Sudan, which I think will allow them to cut interest rates a little bit lower. The Africa Integration Index is here, and it has some unlikely winners and surprises. Talking about Djibouti and Ethiopia, a relationship of necessity, nearly 90% of Ethiopian imports come through Djibouti's port, serviced by at least 1,500 trucks daily. And as Ethiopia's state-dominated economy continues to boom, this number is projected to grow to 8,000 in just 5 years. In November, the first train started operations, relying on diesel as the power lines come up, and it could be life-saving. It is actually an old track that fell into a state of disuse, but the work on it now means it has at least 7 times more capacity, capable of carrying 3,500 tons of goods. Saying the inaugural African Regional Integration Index focused on the 8 major blocks that prop up the AU. which are known as Regional Economic Communities, RECS. Biggest surprise of the day was the identification of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, as the best performer in regional infrastructure, one of 5 categories the index measures, and the most visible face of continental integration. When regional infrastructure works better, business costs fall as transport corridors speed goods across boundaries and more customers access services as mobile phone roaming expands. When visa or work permit restrictions are cut, gains in time and resources open up, which supports more competitive businesses and economies, the index noted as well. EAC was highest scoring in value addition. But perhaps interesting was the placing of Benin above Nigeria in their shared ECOWAS bloc, explained by its proximity to the regional giant to which it re-exports manufactured products. Another surprise was that the biggest economies are not the best integrated. Algeria, DR Congo, Egypt, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Tanzania have all room for more progress. Let's move on to South Africa. The all share is up 2.37% year to date. Dollar Rand, I'll put up a 1-year chart, it's at 14.86. I don't think President Zuma will be decapitated immediately or in the short term, and therefore this rally looks to me to be sold. And that's why I was saying sell it yesterday. We're now in the money at 14.86. Let's keep an eye out on it. I like this photograph of President Zuma. Sort of captures him. Egyptian EGX 30, it's at 22-week highs. It's up 8.15% year to date and entered a bull market in March, as we all know. Nigerian all share down 11.5% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index is down 4.3% year to date. There's been a tremendous drama and hullabaloo about some tuna bonds in Mozambique. In a great article in the Wall Street Journal, Tuna and Gunships, how $850 million of bonds went bad in Mozambique. Mozambique is becoming a case study on the perils of rushing into markets at the edge of the world's financial system. Global investors who in 2013 thought they were lending a state-owned company $850 million to buy a tuna fishing fleet learned within months that the funds had been diverted to buy ships for the Navy. 2 years later, they were told Mozambique intended to restructure the bonds because the fishing company's revenues was not holding up. Now they are learning that the Credit Suisse group, which led the bond sale with the Russian bank, had made another sizable loan to Mozambique around the same time of the original bond sale. The end result is that Mozambique is deeper in debt, paying higher interest on the new restructured bonds and weathering a downgrade of its credit rating to selective default. Investors are left with bonds that are now likely worth less than they thought before learning about the other loans. And there still isn't much to show in the way of tuna. Buyers of the tuna bonds officially endorsed the restructuring Friday, with about 85% voting to accept the deal. The restructuring replaced debt that had originally yielded 8.5% with new government bonds yielding 14.4%. Standard & Poor's cut its credit rating on Mozambican debt to selective default status Friday, calling the exchange distressed. The episode presents another mess for Credit Suisse CEO Tidjane Thiam as he attempts to reduce the bank's reliance on investment banking in risky markets. The bank managed the restructuring, which helped tie off the problem of the rapid failure of the original bonds it helped to sell. But investors want to know why they weren't told about the other loans until after they had cast their votes for the restructuring. Why wasn't it disclosed? Clearly it would have been a negative. Investors chasing high yields in commodities boom rushed into Africa in recent years, and now they're getting their fingers burned. This is one of the points I was making at a presentation yesterday to the Liberty Board, where I said investors are now picking and choosing, particularly in the Eurobond market. It's quite a story. Do read it in full. It's on Rich Wrap-Ups. On that note, let me put up this photograph I took when I attended a conference co-hosted by the IMF and the Mozambique Republic, and it was Africa Rising, and I tweeted a photograph. Rising, but no longer in the rising tide, floats all boats' way it was in 2012 and 2013. I took this photograph of the evening as it spread across the Maputo sky when I was there on that visit. Let me put that up as well. AFDB to treble financial support to Mozambique to $1.7 billion, so that's a good sign. Sudanese government launches online stock market with $34.8 million of funding from the AFDB. Moving on, the president here, Kenyatta, was visiting President Hollande in Paris. This is a photograph the Star took. France has approved 28 billion shillings for Kenya's infrastructure. A bulk of the money will be used to finance the last mile connectivity program. French government is providing some money for the Meir wind farm and for the Ruiru 2 dam that will see an increased water supply in the cosmopolitan Nairobi area. So that's a positive sign. The French ambassador, Remy, who's a friend, has been extremely bold and pushed the envelope in terms of French relations with Kenya in particular. Kenya shilling 101.495. My piece over the weekend was the bifurcation of the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It's up like 1% this year, the all share, but within that you had dramatic price moves, and that's what I was talking about. The NAC 20, then have a look at this from Kenyan Wall Street, which is how all the different stockbrokers performed at the NSC. There's a bifurcation in there as well. Nairobi all share up 0.81% so far this year. The NSC 20, whilst down 0.8%, has closed at a 3-month high. And I'll put up a chart of the NSC 20 and its 3-month high close. 1 year high was above 5,000, we're back above 4,000 now, so we'd like to see some movement further up and not a dip below 4,000 again. Once again, thank you for stopping by. I'm always grateful.